Hi everyone, welcome to today's interview with Kerry-Green. Carol has a book tour with us this week for her book Lady Emma's Diaries, and she's very kindly agreed to talk to us about that and about her writing. Hi Carol.
Hi, Michelle.
So, can you start by telling us when you first became interested in writing?
Oh, yeah, God, it was a long time ago. It was about 11, 12, something like that. So we are talking a long time ago now. But I always seem to have been writing. I used to write quite a lot during school, for essays and stories. If there were ever asked you to write a story, some people would fill a page. I'd be like on that fifth or sixth page by the time we would have to send them in. And and I even remember doing that during an exam once, sitting there and filling more and more pages of all this. Not sure anyone could read my handwriting, but so yes, I've always been interested in writing, and I've always loved it.
Sounds like it's something that comes naturally to you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I did have a hiatus from writing for almost 20 years. But I was still writing non-fiction during that period, even though I wasn't writing fiction. So that, because that's before, when would that be? In the late 90s, I think I stopped writing for a while. And then when I started picking up writing again seriously, that's when I realised that self-publishing had become a thing. And so that's what's been wonderful for me, being able to publish my books myself and get them out there.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that you came back to writing,
Me too.
the world of fiction. Where did the idea for Lady Emma's Diaries come from?
It was a dream actually. It was several dreams over several nights. Kept me awake for about 3 nights. I just had these characters running around in my head telling me about, sort of this house in I mean, it's a fictional stately home, but it's based on several of the others that you find in the East Yorkshire area. So they were telling me about this grimoire that these boys were trying to find, that had some spells in it that they wanted, and then it just gradually, sort of like as I started writing it, it sort of like gradually, came through as being, Polly, and she runs the home. It's her inheritance, and she sort of like gradually begins gathering these guys to her who become her coterie, who help her later on in the book.
And who is your favorite character to write for in the book?
That has to be Percy. I love Percy. Ever since I sort of like it came into my mind, it was just a little bit in the book actually about she was having a phone call with a recruiter
Mhm.
about getting somebody new in, and they mentioned Percy, and I thought, yeah, it could just be sort of someone who comes in to get the job, and then later on I added him in as one of the coterie members. And then in book two, which I know you've not got yet, but in book two, which is called Legacy and Crystal, he's actually one of the main characters. So his voice is one of the main voices throughout the book. But yeah, but no, I just loved his the whole idea of him. I thought, yeah, I could fall in love with you. So he was my book boyfriend while I was writing.
As long as your husband didn't mind.
He won't mind.
And the story features elements of magic. Is this something you believe in?
um, yeah, I mean, it could be. I think there are some magical things in the world. I mean, I'm not sure magic as it is in my books and as it is in some of the paranormal books, but I know there are various things, sort of that people find magical with, sort of like the Wiccans and other sort of like society, sort of groups that do, sort of magic. Um, so yeah, I'd like to think it was. I'd love to have, that kind of magic to be able to do, things. Sort of Polly's very good at setting up the wards around the place to protect them, and and she's had a lot of um, experience, and she's had a lot of teaching and everything. So it must have been really good to have somebody teach you how to do that, so you don't have to find it out for yourself. But yeah, no, I'd love to think that all the magic was real.
And as well as Lady Emma's Diaries, you're also stock of Blood and Shadows at the Book Dragon. Can you tell our viewers a bit about that book?
Yeah, Blood and Shadows. It's the first book in my urban fantasy trilogy, which is A Blood and Shadows, Living in Shadows, and Out of the Shadows. The first two are written. The third one, I haven't written it yet. Um, Blood and Shadows started because Jerome, the main character, I could just see him laying in this alley, looking at, watching the rain come down, and just being. He was so depressed. His life seemed to be at an end, and there was nothing happening, and and he just couldn't sort of see his
Oh, hello. We've got a guest on the book on the interview.
yeah, so he couldn't see a way out of his life. So, and that was like the beginning, and then I found out what it was that had happened to him, and he has a paranormal power himself, and he's also part of the Donati, which is a society I created, who are a long-lived society who have paranormal powers. So, for example, his great grandfather, Dastan, who's another one of my favourite characters, not Dastan, Cornelius. Cornelius and Dastan are two of my favourite characters there. But Cornelius, he can stop time.
Oh, wow.
So, so they need to get out of something, so he just stops time. And while they can, sort of get out of that situation,
Handy.
um, yeah, so it's great. And his partner, Dastan, who have been together since the First World War, he can read memories. So that's also a very useful thing to have. And as the book goes on, Jerome starts discovering his own paranormal power. And that's like a chameleon power. So he can be stood against a wall or against the background, sort of say about a house and everything, and he'll just blend in. You won't see him, which is very useful when they go at one point to you know to rescue somebody, and he's like just sort of, and he can also take a few people with him as well, which is extremely useful.
So if they're
So
like holding on to him or whatever,
yeah,
they
as
will
long as they're
actually.
holding on and they're within a certain distance of him, they can work. So Blood and Shadows is all about Jerome. The second book that follows is Up, which is Living in Shadows, is about his grandmother, and she's been trapped in the Shadowlands. So it's about trying to save her, and also what's happening. That is partly set in Florence. The first book is set in New York, and then they go to Sydney, where they meet the sort of vampire called Leatius, who's a very old, very ancient vampire, and he runs a surf shop in Bondi Beach in Sydney, which I
Oh.
thought, perfect for a vampire. So I thought that was quite funny. And then I said book two set in Florence, and I haven't written book three yet, but I've started it. I think I've got about the first 5,000 words written. But then that's when I started writing Lady Emma's Diaries,
Mhm.
because I was like, sort of starting writing the third book, and I'd got a little bit into it, and that's when I started having these thoughts and dreams and everything about Lady Emma's Diaries. So I thought, well, I'm gonna have to write that one first, because it was just all up there in my head and I couldn't get rid of it. So that's why that one came out first, and then because it's a duology, the two of them just in the series, I thought, well, I've got to write book two, otherwise, people will be hanging on. And I thought, and then someone said, well, when are you going to write book three of the Genasi? And I thought, yeah, but I've actually started a new series now instead, so it's all good in my head anyway.
Definitely a good situation to be in to have lots of ideas instead of struggling for them.
It's nice, yeah. I mean, it's finding the time more than anything to sit down and write at the moment.
Hmm.
I'm moving over from I've been working as a professional genealogist for the last 12 years. And I'm sort of like, moving over from that business now. I'm, not taking any new clients on or anything. So the idea was to finish that off beginning of this year and move over to writing, doing more writing. So like, I won't say writing full time because I'm kind of like semi-retired. But to do more writing during the day and everything like that. But unfortunately, just before Christmas, I broke my wrist, my left wrist, and
Yeah.
so I ended up not being able to do anything. So I'm only just starting to get back into finishing off the genealogy reports I've got to do. And of course, I still can't do too much typing because my wrist says, "No, stop!" If I do too much. So doing more writing has been kind of like put back towards the end of the year, but hopefully I'll get to it this year. I still want to get at least one book out this year,
Hmm.
the first book in the new series,
Right.
and that's called the series is called The Birds of York,
Hmm.
Byrdes, and again it's paranormal, it's urban fantasy, and it's set in York. It's unsurprisingly called Birds of York. Yeah, so I lived in York for a couple of years, so it's set in one of my favourite places, and I've started writing the first book, which is called Flight of the Falcon. It follows the main character called Falcon Bird. So it'll be a series of 6 books, each following a different brother. Well, they're all foster brothers, so it's each following a different person in the family. So yeah, so that's what I've started now.
Oh gosh, well, lots of exciting news from you, Carol.
I know. Just finding time to actually sit down and do the writing. I'm about 4,500 words into it, so I have started.
Hmm.
I just need to, sort of do do a few more full writing sessions and get going with it.
Well, good luck with all that.
Yes, thank you. I mean, once it's all done and everything, I'll be sending some books your way. I mean, I must send Legacy and Crystal as well to you to stock at the Book Dragon because that's book 2 of Lady Emma's Diaries. So I'm sure if people buy book 1, they'll probably want to buy book 2. Hopefully, anyway. Fingers
Yeah, it'd be
crossed. So,
fantastic to have those. And you can get Carol's existing books at the Book Dragon, which is at 6 West Stockton on Tees, or from our website, which is www.thebookdragon.co.uk. Thanks so much for joining us today, Carol. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you, find out more about Lady Emma's Diaries and the rest of your projects.
you're very welcome.
Bye for now.
Bye.